talk about the agenda for the day, which you can see over here, that will talk about infrastructure security, data security, application security, security of cloud in general, and then we will talk about cloud security automation with PowerBoot. That is our multi-cloud management platform. And then, of course, we'll talk about next steps. We have a team here that is on standby. So throughout the session, if you have any questions related to cloud security or cloud in general, please feel free to put your questions in the chat window for this Google Meet link, and then we are going to answer your questions. Keep a watch, keep an eye on that chat window, because our team will be sharing a lot of interesting resources related to cloud security in that chat window. So a quick introduction about Loves Cloud, our company that organized this tech talk. So we were founded in 2017. We do a lot of work on cloud, DevOps, containers, and serverless. So we do work on product, we have some solutions, and we also do consulting services. We have an office headquartered in Noida, and then we have sales offices in Mumbai and in Budapest, Hungary. And we are, of course, serving customers across globe. Quick overview about myself. I am Albert Anthony. I am founder of Loves Cloud. I'm a solution architect and author for a couple of books on cloud security for AWS. I am also writing another book on cloud security management, and then we will share information on this book in the form of ebook, later in the next month. And I like to call myself cloud and DevOps evangelist. Something that I really like organizations to adopt. And these are my social handles. You are more than welcome to connect with me. Our speaker today is Prabhat. Prabhat is a professional contact for many years. I've known him for many years, and he's a good friend as well. He's a chief technical officer for a edutech company called Aptens. He's a hands-on professional, somebody that we actually go to many times when we are stuck with a cloud problem or a DevOps problem. When I say he's a hands-on person, he has learned everything on his own. So you talk about being a good programmer or a cloud solutions architect or a DevOps specialist. In Prabhat, we have all this and a lot more. So the way we are going to conduct this tech talk is, so Prabhat, is going to present his screen, and he's going to talk about all these security, infrastructure security, data, applications, and security of cloud. So around 30 minutes, Prabhat is going to talk about it. He has his own presentation. And then we will be asking him questions based on your questions and based on what we have in mind. And Prabhat will be answering those questions, as and when he speaks. Once Prabhat is done, then I am going to show you that how you can automate cloud security using PowerBoot. And throughout this thing, this entire duration, if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to ask those questions in the chat window. So we expect that this entire thing will take about 45 minutes from now. Feel free to ask any questions that you have. So Prabhat, I am going to stop sharing. Please go ahead and start sharing your screens, please.
My screen is it visible to my screen?
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, guys, and good afternoon, Albert. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak in front of you guys. And I can see there are a lot of guys are available here, and I'll be really happy to answer the questions that will be asked by the people. And okay, so coming to my background, actually, Albert has already given my my background. Before going further, I would like to share you a few incidents that, especially in the term of security vulnerability, that happened with us. Around 4 years ago, there was some mistake. Like when I was learning, as Albert says, like I do learn each and everything by myself. So I started, working with the AWS services around 4 years ago. At that time, I had no idea how this credential works. I mean, credential in the sense how the like how dangerous to share the credentials to anybody, and how they can destroy each and everything for you. So what happened, like I was working in one of the open source, and I used to create a project. I used to publish that project in GitHub. Accidentally, what happened, like I put my AWS access key secret and secret key inside Git, in the code itself, and I had no idea, like I have done this wrong step. In the next,
Prabhat,
in the yeah,
put that in the present mode so you will get a bigger screen for everyone.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No. Oh, yeah. Present on the top right. Right. All the way to right. Yeah.
Okay, so so what happened, like in the next day when I wake up, I got to know, like my AWS bill was around $10,000. So I was surprised to know, like what happened, like I'm not using this AWS account for my production, and how it happened. When I explored when I explored each and everything, the way I got to know, like my account has been hacked by some people who has taken my AWS access key, secret key from Git commit itself. See, like there are a lot of hackers. They keep watching, like if somebody have put their access key, secret key in their Git commit itself. They have a lot of cron jobs and all, and within like whenever you commit the code inside GitHub, if it is a public repository, they will scan your code. They will see, like whether you have put the access key or not. If you have put the access key, they will start they will start data mining process and all by on behalf of you, and they will do a lot of stuff on us. There was another incident that again happened with me, like in the Jenkins there is some kind of bugs they had. It was available, like there is just by if you have created any kind of project, and just accidentally if you put like the open forward kind of stuff and all, so what will happen, like your Jenkins account will be publicly accessible. And like whenever you are creating any project in any project, or whenever you are building any project in Jenkins, you have to put your AWS credentials and all inside Jenkins itself. And again, the same incident happened. The hacker was watching at our stack whether somebody have put their Jenkins Jenkins credentials, Jenkins stack publicly or not. They quickly find my Jenkins are publicly accessible without username and password. So they went inside our Jenkins. They extract, they stole my AWS access secret, and the same thing happened. Like they start misusing our AWS account wrong. So see, like just because of very small error or very small mistake, your organization may lose millions or billions of dollars, I would say. Or of course, like it will create a lot of problem. Like your account, your data will be stolen if you are managing your customer data and all, it will be stolen by someone else. And it, of course, data is very costly if you talk about your main business. Just because of data, your business can be changed. It can be overcome by other people. Okay, so this is what I just give you two incidents that happened with me. Even though I'm a good learner, I have done a lot of project. I have done a lot of I created a lot of a stack from DevOps to product to like marketing, each and everything. Whatever the software cycles we have, or each and every step I have done it by myself, one by one. Even though,
So,
like I faced this
I
kind of
think
problem.
you have made a very interesting observation here, that if there is a problem with security, it can cost a lot of money to the organization.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So security, or lack of security could be directly or directly proportional to the money that you are going to lose, right? The less the
Yeah,
security, the more money, inversely proportional. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Very interesting.
So just you can, in fact, a few, I think 2 year back, 2 year back, like there was some issue with GitLab. Like GitLab data had been stolen by some hacker. Just because of this, like around 10 to 20% people left that GitLab, like
Yes.
GitLab features and all. So see, like
Very
how it happened, just because of a small mistake. That mistake was one of their developer that who accidentally made some like they started some kind of or they made some access publicly accessible. So what happened, like a hacker, and you see everywhere around the world, knowing or unknowingly, hackers are watching your stack and each and everything, what your activities. If you make some mistake, simply they will catch that they will catch that mistake, and they will start exploring. Okay,
Yeah.
so now coming to the topics that what we are going to discuss here. So these are the some steps we'll be discussing one by one. Along with also, I'll share like how we can implement this thing in AWS itself for their dashboard. So it is like implementation of a strong identity foundation, enable traceability, apply security at all layers, automate security best practices, protect data in transit or at rest, prepare for security event. So AWS has, as if you guys are familiar with AWS, like the primary, like the initial layer of AWS would be your IAM role. Means using IAM role, you can access your different services, you can manage different services and all. So technically, if you have the good control of IAM role, your first layer will be secure. Means if you good control in the sense, if you know how to manage your IAM like your IAM services and all properly, there would be chances, like as I can give you my example, like what happened, like I accidentally put my access key, secret key, that is a part of IAM in my code itself. Just because of that a small issue, like my AWS bill was stood by $10,000. So this is the part of and this is not only related to AWS. It will be applicable for your Azure, GCP, everywhere. Like whatever the public cloud you are using it, everyone have this kind of setup. So you will have to manage the first you can say first step by yourself, and very efficiently, very wisely. So here, like you can say, ensure authorized and authorized users are able to access resources, define users, group, services, role, protect AWS credential, use the grant and authentication control. So in fact, if you want to get the more idea about what exactly this one, see like this is the AWS account. I have created a fresh AWS account so that I will not have any issue while sharing this thing publicly. So this is the IAM options services which are available in AWS itself. And you can see, like if you guys have created any kind of services, any kind of hosting, any kind of authentication system and all, AWS has the same as well. You can see, like they have users, they have group, they have role, they have customer managed policies, they have identity providers, they have these are the options which are available, and we'll have to use each and everything one by one. Let's say if you see the roles, AWS is providing by default role, like AWS managed role. Same way, like see here, like AWS GTS fits tagging role, means you can say for easy to use our application, all they have created a lot of different role for us. At the same time, you can also create your own role. Now you can see, like AWS have different role. Like if see, always you should try to give the role and permission as less as possible. As less as possible means, if one of the services that required just to have the data from S3 bucket, read data, then why you should provide the write data, why you provide the delete data kind of permission and all. So you will have to give the permission at micro level. You can see this is what I have written. Use fine grained authentication access control, means each and every like each and every permission should be as per their requirement. It's not like if they have the very limited requirement, we should not provide the higher authority, higher permission. In that case, there will be some vulnerability issues.
So to put it in other way, I might have my salesperson in the AWS account, and the salesperson would be interested only in the budget and the billing, right? So I should
Exactly.
give them only that permission. Or let's say if I have some interns, who want to learn AWS, then they should be given only, let's say, read-only access, right? And not the administrator access.
Exactly. Means
Okay.
if you provide this way, like we can segregate each and every groups, like each and every person in a group. Let's say as you have already told, like if the person are into marketing and sales, definitely their more interest will be to know like what is the your AWS consumption, and for previous month, and what will be the consumption for the next month. According to it, they can plan. They can also see, like let's say there is a there will be a Diwali Varanja, there will be some other kind of stuff and all, and there is a, like let's say if you consider like Flipkart example, so like their normal users, so as of now there would be like hardly 2 to 3 lakhs of user on daily basis, but when it comes to Diwali Varanja now, at that time there would be around 20 to 30 lakh of users, they will come onto their platform. So according to that, they will have to make a plan, they will have to allocate some fund, they will have to allocate like how many servers we are going to create and all. So there would be a lot of stuff. So for that, like who will be responsible for the same, it will be responsible for like the salesperson, and of course like some of the business intelligence person who will see like what is our what will be the our cost involvement for server, and what kind of and how many users will come our platform, and how many sales will be done. According to it, how much profit will get from this complete. Because if you are buying some product from online platform, there is a server cost is also involved on that one, so there that will have to consider for that part as well. So each and everything can be planned from this itself. And of course, like the person who are into sales, they should not have the access for your other servers stuff. The person who are into development, they should not have the access for billing purpose, like billing system. Why will provide the developer to billing section information? Why will provide the access? See, in a developer, they should not create any kind of user on behalf of them, because if they will be able to create a user, they will be able to manage the role, manage the permission. What will happen? They may start misusing your platform as well. So these are the things that can be managed via IAM roles. IAM permissions, IAM roles. If you see more, see here, like we can provide users. If you have the if you're defining the access, you will have to think how and what kind of access we need to provide to users. There is some kind of SML2 concept as well. Means you can say like SSO kind of authentication. Let's say your organization have a QA environment, development environment, production environment. There would be total three AWS account. If you want to manage these 3 account as a organization, so obviously, and the same user will have to use the same ID password for each and every account. So in that case, AWS is providing SML. Simply you can create one users for SML, and like this one SAML, and after that you can coordinate, you can integrate all the 3 existing account to these users, and you will be able to, a developer will be able to access their development account, their production account, their QA account, depending upon their requirement. Yeah, like as an end user, if I talk about a organization's hierarchy, like a junior engineer or maybe senior engineer, they need to have the access for developer account only. For the QA guy, like after development done, this stack should come to the QA person. So the QA person should have the access for QA server only. But if you talk about managers, like who is in charge of this complete project, they should have the access for development server, QA server, and production server. So that developer should make the changes and all in development server as well as QA server, because they will be responsible for production server. Only managers should have access for production server, so that they should only deploy the code, deploy the changes into the productions with the proper permission. So that kind of grain authentication can be controlled by SML. Define management policies and all. Group. Now coming to the group point. Let's say in the organizations we have 100 people. And for each and every people, we have created different users account, ID, password, I would say. But and you have assigned the permission on each and every user. So you can imagine how much rework will have to perform. So instead, what we'll have, we can create a 5 different groups, let's say 5 or 6 different groups, like finance, like a QA group, developer group, production group, and all, and we'll provide the proper permission inside group itself. And now we'll simply create a user. We'll put this user inside this group, and that user will have the sufficient permission. Let's say at some point of time, if we think like we need to change the permission of particular group, we'll simply go to the group and we'll change the permission, and that permission will reflect to each and every person who are associated with this group. So that at that level also we can define the policies and all. Security means if it's services, like if it's you can see the icon itself, it is key. Means we should give the least privileged access. Means nobody should have this kind of access, especially at key level, because if the person has the key,
can you maximize that? Just put on the present.
So, sorry.
Much better. Thank you.
Yeah. So if the person name suggests itself, like he should have the least privileged access. Means very few people or maybe no people should have this kind of access. Because if somebody have this key access key, they can destroy each and anything. If they will think like we need to do something bad. Instead of access key security, like AWS has a role as you discussed. Means if you think you need to create some kind of password-less authentication, then in that case you may have to work with role. Means you can create a user, you can assign the role, and that user will have the particular permission. Take the example. Take an example of EC2 instance. Like if you have created some particular person, some developer should have EC2 access, EC2 creates access. One way if you have the AWS access key secret key using AWS CLI, we will be able to create that. We'll be able to create EC2 instance. Another way, like we will give this role to the particular user. We'll ask them, go to AWS dashboard, create that EC2 instance for. You can create that EC2 instance on behalf of you. And if you provide that access, then in that case we may not need this access key secret key and all for that particular user. They can create, they can manage, they can utilize each and every resources on the basis of user roles only. Now coming to another point, like whenever you are creating a AWS account, you should have some kind of password policy. Password policy in the sense, like when you provide the access to one of your developer, their password should have more secure. It should have a lot of keys. Like there should be a small letter, this should be kept upper letter, there should be some kind of extra characters and all. So it means a special character, I would say. So it means if you are having this kind of password, definitely it will be very difficult to crack that password by any kind of hackers. So for that, AWS is providing password policies. If you go to here, my organizations.
So Prabhat, a quick question. Yeah. How long it took you to figure out all these things in AWS?
See, it's totally dependent upon use case. See, for me, when I started learning one, my hobbies was to create different projects to use different use cases. For that, I started helping different people, especially in the WhatsApp group. And I think just because of this like this one, I met you in WhatsApp group as well. So right. Actually my hobbies was to solve the customer problem and gain the knowledge for this. This was my hobbies, and I still am doing it. Still I am in contact with a lot of person who are who have some issues in cloud and all. I'm looking to solve their problem.
Very nice.
As per my time requirement. So now coming to your questions, definitely there is not any time limit, but I would say I can tell you, like if you are working continuously on AWS for 1 year at least, you'll have some basic idea how to use that services wisely. I would say. I'm not saying you will be very expert, but it at least you'll have to spend 1 year in any kind of, either it would be AWS, Azure, GCP, any kind of. You should spend 1 year onto that platform. I'm not saying go have some training and all. Always try to use the. I'll always try to implement the use case. As per according to use case, you will be able to utilize the 100%. The concept, whatever you will be able to solve your questions, or you can say like you will be able to learn wisely, I would say. Because in if you go through any kind of different video tutorials or trainings and all, they may give you very basic things only, like how to create EC2 instance, how to deploy a auto scaling load balance and all. That will be some kind of general that will be general work. That will be not useful if you have started working in an organization, and if you have taken some kind of responsibility as a DevOps engineer, or you can cloud architect and all. So for that kind of responsibility, definitely you will have to explore more. You will have to spend more time into cloud. Then only you will be able to export into this one. Okay, now coming to this point, like if you see here, like AWS security credentials and all, these are the we have. This is what I was trying to show. Means you can set this kind of credential, like what should be the special character inside your password and all. You can enable. You can also enable multiple MFA, multi-factor authentications. Like whenever see, this is what this is my normal account. For my production account and all, I always keep enabling multi-factor authentication. And without my phone number, without my password and all, nobody will be able to access my account. Means technically my AWS account will be accessible from my mobile only. So that kind of a stuff you will have to set. You will have to set the password policy map, MFA for users, and countries clarifications. Like you can say, like it should be deleted every time. It should be your credentials will be rotated. Avoid storing API keys in the source control. This is very important concept. You should not store any kind of key inside your source control and all. You should always keep this key available in AWS itself, and you should manage this key via some kind of external services that we are going to discuss in the coming session. Use temporary credential via STS. Means you can say, let's say if you are providing some access to one of your developer, that credential should be accessible only for some certain days. Let's say 5 or 6 days, or maybe 1 month, depending upon how this person are involving into your project. Sometime, okay, now coming to this another incident. Like what happened, like when I was creating our stack, that time like I put my access key, secret key in the code itself, and accidentally what happened, like I put this key this code inside our S3 bucket, and as that S3 bucket has the public access permission. So again, same thing happened. Like I don't know who stole this code and all. They started exploding into my account. They started creating EC2 instance on behalf of me and all. So you should always give the permission, even though if your AWS S3 bucket are publicly accessible. Like you can say publicly accessible means you may have to put S3 some images, profile image and all, that should be obviously public accessible, but they should be also controlled via access control. Means you can say you can see the example, like this bucket have list permission, list object permission, meta permission, and resources is equal to star here. Means anything is available to this one, the person will have this access. At the same time, you can also provide the relative path. Let's say your S3 bucket, in that bucket you can create a static file, you can media file, and you can secure file. So you can give the public access only for media file, not for a static file, not for media file, media folders, I would say. And so it means you can say in one S3 bucket, you can provide the access for one folder, remaining two folder will be still secure. So that way you can create your infrastructure. You should create like a stack in such a way that whatever the customer requirement, that kind of permission you should expose into the world. That can be controlled via using this statement.
Yeah, Prabhat, we should speed up a bit because
sure.
we are short of time.
Yeah. Now we'll have to. We should have always deductive control, identifying potential security that is essential for the legal compliances, ensure the key area are capture and analyze the log, integrate auditing control with notification and workflow use log case. See, like whenever you are creating any kind of a stack, definitely the log watching log will give you a lot of insight about your stack, like how user behaves, how your stack behave and all. So that should be, and of course if you are having logs, then definitely you should control that log access by yourself, and you should give the proper permission that there should be some kind of log retention as well. After some time this log should automatically destroy, and then so that they should give the room for new logs and all. And this way you can save a lot of cost as well. Like AWS is charging on the basis of how many logs we have, how many storage we have. Capture analyze log. See here, you can asset management, describe the asset instance programmatically, no dependency on instance based on agent. API driven logs analysis, collect, filter and analyze the logs. Else automatically collect API with CloudTrail. AWS is providing the CloudTrail features. See, AWS have logs for cloud event like CloudWatch. They have, you can say, plenty of logs. Out of this, what kind of logs is really is your interest? That kind of features you can control via CloudTrails. You can also use Elasticsearch with instances, but yeah, of course, like if you have, so it is totally depend upon use case and all. So AWS is providing this three kind of stuff. For me personally, I am using more and more CloudTrail because we want to know like how user behaves, like how on what page user have spent a lot of time and all. So that kind of control can get it from CloudTrail. Means if we know like what kind of log we are looking for, that kind of filter process and all that should be done via CloudTrail. That kind of features AWS are providing. We can always filter the log. See, this is what I was trying to say. Like don't just collect the stored log, analyze log easily with the CloudWatch event. Trigger notification, automate response with Lambda, integrate event with tracking system. Okay, so this is a very interesting the concept. Like whenever you are working in any organization, let's say there is some bug in your code, and that codes are live, means you can say it is in production. So how you will identify it? One way, you will have to scan your log each and everything by yourself, and after that you will be able to identify it. Another way, like AWS is providing some kind of cloud event log. You can fix some criteria, like if you will get this kind of log, you should get the notification. Notification could be like email, like Slack, or in fact sometimes you can put in call as well. Means AWS is providing call facilities as well, so you can simply integrate with this notification with the call, and you will get the call like, hey, and obviously it will be an automated call, so you will get an idea where your system is failing, and you will be able to quickly solve the question. That logs will be also that can be automated with Lambda function, like CloudTrail. CloudTrail works at the top of Lambda function.
Okay, Prabhat, let us move fast. So we have about 7 minutes to wrap up your this thing, and then we can start with the PowerPoint, right? So sure. So everybody, if you have any questions, just put it over here on the chat window. We have a team, anything related to cloud or cloud security. Okay.
So now you can see like AWS has a different.
Put it on present mode so everybody can see it.
See, like AWS has the different kind of tools, like Amazon Inspector, who inspect the change. We inspect whether you have some kind of vulnerability and all, and according to it, you can like you can configure some kind of actions. Like they have the cloud duty, cloud like guard duty. You can enable it. You can take the actions. Means on behalf of you, AWS can take an action, particular action. Let's say if you have some kind of vulnerability, they can take the action on behalf of you. That kind of system you can integrate with this kind of structure. They have, so if you see it, if you this diagram might not be visible. So ultimately what is happening, like we have the configure AWS config. On AWS config we have the CloudWatch event, and on the basis of CloudWatch event we can create the config rules, and on that config rule we can create different actions. Like action could be like sending notification to you, or maybe making some actions on behalf of you. That kind of a system you can integrate with change management system. As we discussed earlier, security should be available at all layers. It is not like if you have created security at IAM role, that's it. We'll have to integrate. You will have to give the security level at like if you have created some kind of cloud services like EC2 instance, you should have the security level at their application level. How application is being accessible. It is being accessible at networks. It means you should have the provide the security level at network level as well. How this network actually behave, you will have to you should think about like how we are providing this access. Means let's say if you can take the example, like in one application we have a static file, we have application, we have database. So of course your database should not be accessible in the outside the world, but your HTML CSS file, that should be accessible outside the world. Your code partially or like fully, it should be accessible throughout the world. So it means you can create one private subnet and two public subnet. According to it, you can make that you can security layers now. So this is what they are: user data auth control, encryption, security hardened IAM, EMI, OS, patch management system, IAM roles, network and host levels, physical AWS compliances, third party infrastructure protection, like protect your network and host level boundaries. As I discussed, means you should always create a VPC, and inside VPC you should create different security level at network like network level only. System security config management system. Your security should be very your security group should be very it should be very efficient in such a way that they should not give the direct access to the customer or to the any kind of users who can access your system. Enforce security level protections. So this is an example of your system. Your database, that's private subnet. Your stack is to be also in private subnet, but your and this both your private subnets will be accessed by Elastic Load Balancer, and that will be public access, and that will be connected via, you can say, route, and that this one is be connected to your internet. So they have, you can say, VPC connections, limit what you are run your public subnet. This is what I was saying. Like in your public subnet, you can provide ELB like Elastic Load Balancer, application load balancer, your network load balancer, Boston host. This Boston host means if you want to access your private subnet, there need to be some kind of instances from where you can access this private subnet via net gateway. So that kind of stuff you will have to set. You should always use VPN gateways in order to create a secure connection from your side to your private subnet resources. System security config management system, OS based firewall. So you should always create OS based firewall level, EBS vulnerability scanner, virus scanner, remove unnecessary tools from OS, remove direct access to the machine, use EC2 system manager, Amazon inspector to scan OS and application. Enforce security level protection, use list privilege IAM policy, use fine grained control with policy, lock the services level permissions such as S3 bucket policies, use KMS, means and define the admin user policies. Means even though you have the access key security, that key should be encrypted in such a way that even though like that encrypted keys and all your developer will have, they will not understand what exactly the key will be. And at the application level only, they will like your application will be able to use that encrypted keys, and they can decrypt the key and they can use it as per their permissions.
Okay, so Prabhat, let me share my screen, and then you can stop sharing your screen. So let us go to the other part. Yeah, so you can just stop share. Okay, thank you. So thank you, Prabhat, for sharing all the information. I know it's so yeah. You can stop sharing this, Prabhat, and then I can present my stuff. Yeah, just click on that stop sharing. Yeah, thank you. So let me quickly share my screen. Okay, so one of the, again, we know that cloud security is something that will keep our management and, our executives up at night. And I was talking to this CEO of a company, I think about 4 weeks ago. And, he spoke in front of all his managers that, Albert, one thing that keep me up at night is the security of my cloud account. And that's a very, very, I would say, a powerful statement that, cloud security is a paradigm shift. And people have these questions. How many security issues are still open for our cloud workloads? Or, what is the trend? How many security issues I am finding every day, and how many I am resolving? How many are or what is the grading? Should I be worried about it, or is it something that I can live with, or is it something that everything is green? Or how about my compliance and governance control? So when I'm sure most of you have paid attention to what Prabhat said, and that is a lot of work to do for cloud security. And he actually spoke only about AWS. We'll be showing you Azure as well. And you can see that this is really a lot of work, and that is where we came up with our multi-cloud management solution. It is called PowerBoard, and then it helps your teams to manage cloud security for Azure and for AWS. So what it does, it runs thousands of security and governance checks on your cloud accounts, and then it will run those checks continuously. Now think about it. If you have to have few DevOps people, or maybe cloud security people, or cloud administrators, how frequently are they going to check about is my cloud security good? Am I grading them? Can I get a recommendation? How do I inform people? So all those things, they are done with the help of a multi-cloud management platform, and that is what we are going to look today. So you see, this is our PowerBoard dashboard. This is something that we have developed in-house, with the help of our cloud specialist. Today, I want to focus on the cloud security management. So you see here, this is an AWS, so it is available for AWS and Azure. Now you see here what it did for this particular customer account. It did some 1600 checks. And out of those 1600 checks, it graded these checks as high and medium and no risk. And if I click on the details, so you obviously can see here lots and lots of information. So you can see here that EC2, you have got most number of checks, obviously, because a lot of people are using EC2. What Prabhat covered in the IAM, there are already checks done for IAM as well. So let us quickly go and look at the details. Now, you see here, 1600 checks, it's very difficult to comprehend that these could be performed manually every day for your multiple cloud accounts. And that is the value that PowerBoard brings to all the customers. So it runs continuously multiple times in a day. And what it does is it gives you this amazing dashboard that says that, yes, these are your checks. And you also have, for every service, the grading of your threats. So if I have to click on EC2, I would see that how many checks are there, and then what are my high checks, what are my medium risk, and what are my no risk. And then if I click on that high risk, so this is the level core of the information, where I will see that there is some problem here that default VPC is used. Obviously, that is considered high risk because default VPC allows everything. There is no private subnet in a default VPC. I'm sure all of you know that. And it says that there is a recommendation as well, recommended to use custom VPC instead of default VPC. All right, and then of course you have plenty of data over there that if you want you can download, you can share, and I will show you those informations as well. So for AWS, you have all the information right at your fingertips, obviously continuously scanning and then available to you in a very easy to understand format, right? So you know that there is a root account. You know that there is an open EC2 security group. You can see here that there are 3 security groups that are open and you need to do something about it. Now, let me quickly show you for Azure. So you see here, this is PowerBoard for Azure. Obviously, a very good-looking, dashboard that we have here. And then let us quickly go through security overview. And here we are going to see all the security groups that are open for this particular, account. And you see here, you have the details as well. Now, I'm sure you would be knowing that security groups are considered one of the primary reasons that why intrusion happen for your server. Now, apart from that, how do we know what we need to fix? I mean, there has to be some sort of recommendation, and those recommendations are given by PowerBoard in a very, very nice format. Now, these are obviously multiple recommendations that are given to us. What you could do, and that is what a good thing, really good thing about PowerBoard. You obviously have a lot of notifications. You can see here that there are notifications here that are available for your Azure account. And then what you can do, you can share these notifications with your peers. Now, most of the people right now, they don't necessarily would log into a tool or to a platform or to an Azure account. What they would want is that information should come to them in their Slack channel or maybe in their Teams account, right? And that is where you could click on manage notifications, right? And what you could do, you can customize the notification to be delivered right to your, let's say, developer Slack channel, or maybe your finance has a Slack channel where you would want to put all your cost related notifications, right? So I'll show that in a sec. So you see here that I have already configured a frequency, the notification type, destination obviously is Slack, and then there are Slack channels as well. So if I have to add something, let's say maybe we want to send something to a CEO. So I don't want to bother a CEO every day, and CEO is really interested in cost and security, and then CEO has a Slack channel as well. So I will hypothetically put here CEO channel, and then of course I will put my credential, some technical stuff, and then I'll save. Now what I see here, let me show you my Slack channel. So I have plenty of Slack channels here, and what I do get is that there is a bot. So this is an automated function, a machine learning function that we have in PowerBoard. And what it is doing, you see here, is that it is giving me notifications for AWS and it is giving me notifications for Azure. And similarly, I can create as many channels as I want. So, Prabhat did mention that, for example, a salesperson would be very much interested in budget and how much money has been spent, or for that matter, a finance person, how much cost we can save. So you can create a Slack channel or Microsoft Teams channel for the relevant team, and then have them get these notifications right there. So you see here, there could be a CISO group or a security group, and they can get these messages, through our bot. And it is really simple. all you need to do, you just need to add your channel, and then you say when do you want it. And then of course, if you want our help, we'll be more than happy to give this help to you. Now, what exactly this thing does, you see here, we reduce the total cost of operation for cloud security management. Imagine if all this work is done by your people. How often they are going to check? Can they run like these thousands of checks that you have over here? Can they, continuously scan? Can they notify all the people? And then obviously there are like 200 plus services on AWS, similarly 200 plus services on Azure. Are they going to look at security configurations? Even if they do, is it worth their time? Now, when you compare that with the cost of PowerBoard, that is where you will say that, hey, the total cost of ownership for a cloud security management platform, I mean, that is absolutely economical when it comes to PowerBoard. So I will quickly show you something for PowerBoard, the pricing. So, if you are spending less than $5,000 across your AWS and Azure account, the cost is only $100 a month, which is like, little over $3 per day. Think about it. So total cloud security management with notifications to your Slack channels, and these could be any Slack channels, these could be any emails, any Microsoft Teams integrations, even though those people are not using PowerBoard, it is perfectly all right. So when you start with that, then you realize that your total cost of ownership for cloud security management comes down drastically. And cloud security obviously job zero, which means that anybody, if he's a DevOps person, she's a cloud administrator or a product manager, cloud security is job zero for them. Yeah, and it's a continuous process. So we also offer free trial for PowerBoard, and you see here unlimited AWS account and unlimited Azure subscription, right? Every single thing is included. So you can try this out. How do you start? You have a sign up form. You can put that in the chat window, Arshad. So you can look at the our website for more information. Your account is activated in flat 15 minutes. As soon as you fill up the form, we will contact you. We'll call you on the number that you will give us, and that's it. You can start using PowerBoard. You have 5 people that you can use. You can add more users, and then you'll be on your way. And then you can start configuring, Slack channels notifications, and then people can start receiving the data real time. So whenever something happens, you start getting the data. Okay. So you can also receive information on the best practices for cloud security, like Prabhat mentioned, that cloud security obviously takes lots and lots of effort. It takes a lot of time. I know Prabhat for almost 3 years now, and I know that he spends a lot of time, and he has done some really, really cool automation for cloud security. So if you want something, please let us know. There are some information available. We have multiple resources available for cloud security. We also have a newsletter that comes out every fortnight. If you want to subscribe to that newsletter, please just put your email ID in there, and then we'll be happy to share our newsletter with you. We are coming out with a cloud security management ebook by the end of August. So we will be sharing link for that cloud security management handbook as well to all of you. Okay. And then if you have any other questions, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions related to cloud security or cloud. Prabhat is also there. As I said, he's a cloud solutions architect. So feel free to ask any questions that you have related to cloud. And this is the time if you want to unmute yourself and then speak up, you could do that as well. Those are all the items that we have, on our agenda for today. So feel free to ask any questions. And then if you have any other topic that you want a tech talk on, please let us know. In all likelihood, we are going to have a tech talk on machine learning with a Microsoft MVP of machine learning in 2 weeks, perhaps 3 weeks from now. So keep following us on our LinkedIn and Twitter and Facebook channels, company pages. We make our announcement over there, and we'll be very happy to share anything that we have with you.
I think someone has asked questions. SK Marifur Rahman, sorry pronounce it. So Albert, can you answer his questions?
Yes, just once.
Yeah.
How PowerBoard stores the client data? Is it encrypted? Yes, it is absolutely encrypted, and we use SSL. We also use native data encryption techniques to secure customer data. And then production access, it is limited by very few people who are employees of the company. It is not accessible by anybody outside of the company. Both AWS and Azure have security console that monitor all the aspects. What gap in the security console is PowerBoard trying to fill? In other words, how PowerBoard is superior to AWS Security Hub? So, many things that are, related to that. Absolutely amazing answer, question. The first thing is total cost of ownership. How many people, how many resources you need to manage your cloud security. So, AWS also has a AWS Security Hub. Azure has, Azure Security Center. And you would need technical people, highly technical people to configure that for you. And it is obviously very expensive as well. So when we compare the total cost of ownership, by just managing AWS security or for that matter, cloud security through cloud native, resources, it doesn't nearly matches what a cloud management platform provides. And that is the reason cloud management platform is a, it's evolving as its own category. Because when we compare that with cost or monitoring or resource utilization or cloud security, or for that matter, governance also, the effort that is required, the people that is required, the continuous, surveillance that is required, it is not available natively in cloud platform. Okay. I hope I answered your question. So right now we do not have any WhatsApp group, to be very honest, but we do have, our social media channels, and we are kind of quite active on those things. Anybody has any other questions? Please feel free to ask any other questions that you might have. And then I'll be sharing, and then Prabhat will be sharing the deck that we have used, on social media channels as well. No, we don't have to subscribe to any paid AWS or Azure tools. Absolutely nothing. You just plug in your cloud account, and you don't have to pay anything for that. You just have to pay for PowerBoard, licensing. That's it. Subscription, nothing else. No charges to your AWS or Azure account.
I think Anthony Yagmesh here. I just had a quick question to understand that PowerBoard monitoring the cloud services, in this case, let's say AWS. does it have any impact on its performance? And I'm sorry if this is a very dumb question, but PowerBoard's integration with a particular cloud account and its ability to scan through the data and give alerts, is it any way affecting its performance, or does a user organization feel that the integration is just slowing down the entire performance?
So I think it's an excellent question, to be very honest. So PowerBoard does not impact performance of the cloud in general. So we take data from the API. We do not take any data from any resource. We do not have access to any data you are storing on your cloud. So for example, if you have some data on your server, your database server, your web server, or if you have some data on your storage, blob storage, S3, we do not have any access to that. We don't also need any access to that data. So what we do, we take information from cloud. So it it doesn't impact your resources per se, and it doesn't impact performance of your cloud. Not at all.
Understood.
Yeah. Any other questions? Is there anything that you would want us to cover in Tech Talk, in coming episodes of Tech Talk? Anything that you would see? The whole idea of Tech Talk is that this is a community where we call industry experts, similar to Prabhat, who are like CXOs or maybe Microsoft MVP or AWS heroes, right? And or maybe Kubernetes champions, and then share their knowledge with the community. That is the idea of Tech Talk. Okay, so let's see. All right, so I guess I have answered all the questions that are there on the chat window. If you have any other questions, please put it on the chat window, and then, or you can unmute yourself and I can answer them as well. No, I guess those are all the things. So Prabhat, thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate you taking out time and giving us such a nice overview of cloud security. Thank you, seriously, thank you. And everybody, thank you very much for taking out this 1 hour, from your busy schedule. Reach out to us, connect with us on our social media handles, and if you have any queries, we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you very much again. Bye bye.
Thanks, Albert.
Thank you.